You're listening to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Here are your hosts, Fran Chismar and Tom Kinezic.
The moment has come. Welcome back to The Buzz, brought to you by the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. I am Fran Chismar.
And I'm Tom Kinezic, and today we're buzzing into episode 180. And Fran, you're right. The moment has come. I'm going to reveal the biggest secret of all, and that is I did not know there was a town called George Washington. Like George, Washington, until about 4 seconds ago.
Really?
Well, 4 seconds before I started that statement. It took me a while to get through it. So let me just verify that. We were just talking about social media and how you don't always know what you're getting there.
Can't always trust what you read.
But I'm pretty sure it's a... this is going to be really hard to look up since there is a person named George Washington. Some folks they might be familiar with him or some of his work.
I cannot tell a lie. I do want to say while you're looking that up, that I'm absolutely digging since we've mentioned that we would accept entries from Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. I appreciate I just realized in my notes I wrote Sportify.
Yes, you did. You did.
Is that a thing? Or maybe it could be a thing.
Is.
Maybe it could be a thing. I'll give you that idea for free. But the amount of love we're getting on Spotify and some of these other outlets with the comments, we really appreciate it. I guess it's a venue that we really hadn't explored, and we appreciate everyone that's taken the time. Regardless of the reason why you've reached out, we appreciate that you've reached out to us.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. We love providing you with a little bit of native plant ecology-esque stuff every Friday, and really appreciate the kind words that everyone's been sharing with us. And I will confirm that there is a city called George, Washington. In Washington, it's looks like it's almost exactly between Seattle and Spokane on Interstate 90. Let's see, it's 2 hours and 16 minutes from Seattle. Let's see how far it is from Spokane, Washington. These are the things I occupy my time with. It's a little bit closer to Spokane, an hour and 56 minutes.
Do you wonder
almost equidistant
if the city's official tree is the cherry tree?
I'm sure that could be looked up. But we're not going to waste your time doing that now. We have books to give away.
You want to know who's going to win these autographed copies of Soil by Camille Dungeon.
And Fran and I have discussed loosely on how we were going to award these books. Basically, I said, we're going to spin the wheel. I'm going to take all the names. I'm going to put them all. At first, I was going to sign them a number. And I said, then we got to count. And there's counting going on. So I took all the names of all the, or pseudonyms? How do you pronounce that? Pseudonyms?
Did you just say pseudonyms?
Pseudonyms? I don't know. I put them on a wheel. And, you shouldn't make fun of someone when they mispronounce something. Because it just means they learned it through reading. Right?
You're right. I'm sorry. I love that. All right.
No, so I put all the names on a wheel.
All right.
And then I'm going to spin the wheel. There's 130 some names on this wheel.
And that's Apple?
Apple, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify.
And even Apple Canada.
And Apple,
which
Apple
doesn't
Canada.
show up when we look on the podcast in Apple. Those don't show up. We had to go through another format to get those. So everyone's on equal footing for this.
Yes. Whether you wrote your review in the very beginning or the very end. You could have written your review yesterday. You have the same chance as anyone else. And as I mentioned in a former podcast, I often think, like, how many of these folks no longer listen? And as I was going through the reviews, there's a lot of names I recognized as people who do still listen. And then the more morbid thing, like, if any of these people passed away that left a glowing review of us, really loved us, and they're no longer with us.
I guess it's possible.
Anyway, here's what I'm going to propose, because we did not discuss this part. Okay. I'm going to spin the wheel. We have 2 books.
Yes.
I'm going to spin the wheel once.
Oh.
Give away 1 book now.
Okay.
Then we're going to wait and spin the wheel at the end and give away another book.
I love that. How about we spin it where we would typically do the secret?
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah, that works.
Our secret will be spin number 2. So you have to, if you want to find out if you're the second winner, you have to listen for the secret spot.
Yeah. So
right, I love that idea.
do you want me to? Should I hit spin? Should I do it now? Do you have any last words before we do this?
I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any last words.
My last words. I'll thank everyone one more time for leaving these great reviews. There's a lot of I got to go through them all as I was picking out the names, and there's just so many kind words. It was really nice. I think we only have one 1-star review, one 3-star review, and one 4-star review.
It's 2 1-star reviews.
2 1-stars. Okay.
Then
maybe it's 2 3-stars because it looked like they were even.
Yeah,
and this is out of nearly 300.
And it's like
total?
1 4-star. Yeah. I'm trying to remember, or it's 2 1-star, 1 2-star. I think 3 3-stars and 2 4-stars out of 213 reviews.
All right.
And just so everyone knows, when we're doing this, the date and time that we're recording this, because we're in the time loop and it's ahead of schedule. It's Wednesday, October 11th.
Yes.
At 1:52.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to air for another week and a half.
Yeah. If you put in your review even probably after 10 o'clock today, I don't have it in there.
I'm going to look.
I could add them real quick if there is another one.
I'm going to look real quick.
The suspense is probably killing people.
Spin the I wonder if anyone's audibly yelling, spin the wheel. Let's see.
Should I do a test spin first? See if someone...
No, don't waste... No, don't. Let's do 5 test spins.
Yeah. It's like what they do in Texas Hold'em, where it's like, all right, we're going to put these 2 cards and throw them to the side. They don't count. All right, I'm going to click the wheel.
All right.
Now.
Oh, that sounds like a winner.
There, we do have a winner. And this is one of the folks, it fell right between 2 people I know still listen.
Oh, okay.
And this person, I don't know if they do.
Oh, all right.
But the winner of the first signed Camille Dungy book, Soil, the story of a black mother's garden, goes to Carl. That's Carl with a K. Actually, well, wait. No, excuse me. It's not Carl. I think it's K-A-R, loves with a U, natives. So, Car loves natives. You have won the first copy we're giving away of Camille Dungy's book. So, do us a favor, because we don't know who you are, or where you live, or any of that kind of stuff. We don't have your address. That would be kind of weird if we did.
Yeah.
But do us a favor.
If we had the address, we would have planted some native plants. We would have been a rogue.
Yeah.
We'd be counting.
When you hear this, you got to write in an email to info@nativeplantshealthyplanet.com.
Yes.
Saying, hey, it's me. Maybe so you got to confirm it somehow. We'll have to put you through a really strict vetting process. Yes. Make sure that this is actually who you claim to be. And then we'll send you your book once we get all that information from you. You can shoot us a Facebook message too, but if you don't use Facebook, that's the email address. So
you have until Buzz episode 182 to respond, which will air on Friday, November 3rd, and we're probably going to record. It's not going to be ahead of that, I don't think. Is it? I'm just looking. Oh, no. It's November 3rd.
November 3rd.
Yeah, it is November 3rd. Okay. So we probably won't record any. We're going to record that the week of the 23rd, I think.
Okay.
Is that right?
I'm not looking at my calendar.
This week is Sear?
No. Next week we're going to Chicago.
No, I mean we're publishing Sear this week.
Yes.
The live podcast.
Sear comes out. No. Yes. Sear comes out this week. Then we have this episode.
Yes.
That we're recording now.
Yeah, which will come out on the 20th.
Is Sear. 20th is this one.
Then the 27th will be Griffith, who we've already recorded. And then the 3rd will be episode 182.
Yeah. So you're going to have to write to us probably before November 1st to guarantee. Don't wait. Do it immediately so that you can guarantee that. How do you think there was any Carls out there that were like, yay, I won? And then with a K. It's not me. Oh. And then you have the other Carl, the Carl with a K. Oh, my God. I got selected.
I was so close.
And then they find out, oh, no, it wasn't me. Maybe it is Carl Of's natives.
Or it could be maybe they didn't have enough spaces and they just double used the L. It could be Carl Loves Natives and they got creative with it.
Well, yeah, Carl Loves Natives. You're a winner.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for entering.
Yeah,
and there's still another chance later in the podcast.
Fran, I will ask, how many of these do you think would go through until we actually get someone to give away the book? Don't give up hope yet. If you weren't selected.
Honestly.
It's happened in the past where people didn't claim their prize.
I'm thinking we'll give one book away. We'll mail one book by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And one book by New Year's.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take that long.
That's why I saved the wheel. I didn't just throw it out.
Yeah, it's 4 years of reviews and comments. So,
like I said, they could have passed on.
Yeah. Or they might not listen anymore. We could have fallen out of favor. They might have found a new podcast. They left us for a new podcast. They might have gone into
competition.
A newer, younger podcast.
All right. Well, now that that's out of the way, and we're 15 minutes into this, let's talk about plants.
It's hot.
Would you like to go first, or would you like?
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right.
My plant this week is something that our crew went out and collected seed of, and I just thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that plant is Distichus spicata, which is saltgrass or inland saltgrass. It's got a bunch of different names.
Yes.
A lot of plants have a bunch of different common names. That's why we don't use the common names. We use the botanical names. And so the description of that plant, and this is from the USDA plant database, is saltgrass is a native perennial from 15 inches to 35 inches in height. It forms dense mats with rhizomes and sometimes stolons. It is a dioecious species with male and female reproductive parts on separate plants. It is widespread and in the eastern United States is most commonly found along estuaries and the troughs of back dune areas along shorelines. It has some wildlife value because it's significant in salt marshes, provide nesting grounds for birds, fish, and the larvae of many species of marine invertebrate animals. As salt marsh plants decompose, their stored nutrients provide a steady source of food for clams, crabs, and fish. And it was also historically used for livestock. So they would eat it. It was a favorable pasture and then could be irrigated with saline water. And the total dry matter would yield 9,081 kilograms per hectare with a total protein production of 1,300 kilograms per hectare, which meant it was great for grazing cattle and horses on it. So that's a historical use of how it was used. And I think it was in my article last time talking about salt marshes. Yeah. That was one of the reasons I chose this plant. That was a use that kind of destroyed some of these salt marshes in a sense. So, so it's a very interesting plant and one that I'm proud we get to go collect seed of in salt marshes.
And the interesting thing is, most of you have probably seen this grass, but didn't know what it was. If you've ever been in the Back Bay, anywhere on the East Coast, it's a high
trip
marsh.
into Atlantic City.
Yeah, you're
the worst trip out of Atlantic City.
You're passing it, and you don't realize it because it kind of intermingles in that high marsh with salt hay. But interestingly enough, it's one of our top 3 sellers, along with which is our top 3 sellers are all salt marsh plants. So it's smooth cordgrass, salt marsh hay, and spike grass or salt grass. Yeah. So,
and Fran, what was your plant this week?
So mine is something we don't grow, but I just happened to be going for a walk Saturday and noticed a lot of these in our local park, which is eastern black walnut, which is Juglans nigra. And this is something that we've talked about many times with juglone and juggalos, and we should call our posse the juglones.
Yeah, that would probably be a good one.
Can we have a posse?
Well,
are we cool enough to have a posse?
We don't want to be the native plant cult. That cult has a bad connotation. Yeah. Probably worse than juglones.
Yeah. But I want a posse. Yeah. Like our posse could be the juglones, the Taproot brothers and their juglones. Yeah. What do you think? Good?
I think that works.
All right. So this tree is native from northeast Canada, west to North Dakota, southwest to Utah, south to Texas, and then east to Florida. It gets about 80 foot tall normally, but it can get 100 to 130 foot tall in more forested settings. If it has the ability to form a wider crown, it will stay a little smaller and get wider. In a forested setting, a little more crowded, they'll shoot up. Fall color is a bright clear yellow. The seed ripens during the summer into fall into a spherical fruit with a brownish green semi-fleshy husk and a brown corrugated nut. The roots secrete juglone, a toxic substance found in the leaves, bark, nut husks, and root of black walnut trees. The juglone in the seed husk can stain your hands. That's what stains them if you've ever picked one up, or it can cause them to blister. The nuts are food for many rodents and birds, make up 10% of the diet of the eastern fox squirrel, but they are toxic to both dogs and horses, so just beware of that. It supports the hickory horndevil larvae, which have one brood and appear from May to mid-September. It's also the larval host for the banded hairstreak butterfly and the luna moth. You can make a yellow dye from the fruit husks. Seed is used in candy making, obviously, cleaning abrasives and explosives. And the ground shells are used as non-slip agents in automobile tires, as a filtering agent for scrubbers and smokestacks. They're used to deburr precision gears in automotives and clean jet engines in the airline industry. And this info is courtesy of A Native Plant Every Day, our other podcast.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, Fran, and there's a really great joke I saw about this. I actually just sent it to your Facebook Messenger.
I saw the message
in a group with Santino from Bowman's Hill, who's telling the joke. So, Fran, while you're playing,
how about I play it?
Yeah, I think you should play the joke because it's really great. Santino's going to wonder why I just sent him this.
All right, let's see if I can do this properly. Hold on here.
Hey, native plant enthusiasts. Any idea what native plant might be perfect for the circus? Let me give you a hint. Oh, walnuts are jugglins.
That was perfect. Thank you for making a brief appearance, Santino.
Did you see that before?
No, I didn't.
Great,
I didn't see it. He's been putting out some fantastic content. Make sure you follow him on social media if you don't. So that's all I have. That's two great choices. Juglone, really, we talked about it. Like the juglone will inhibit the growth of other trees around it. Not necessarily kill it, but it will prevent the roots from really establishing, and it really prohibits other plants from growing. Not every plant, but a lot of plants from growing underneath of it or near it. So be careful on that one, especially if you have dogs. If you don't want the baseball size seed husks falling on your head, if you have a big open area that you could put one, it's a great addition. Obviously, you're only going to put spike grass in your yard if you live on a marsh. Mm-hmm. But two great plants, if you don't know them, that provide fantastic support for our ecosystem. If you don't know them, get to know them. And
yeah, oh yeah.
You want to do a little this or that?
I think we should.
You can get with this, or you can get with that.
All right. So last Buzz, episode 178, I had an article on plant physiology, possibly giving clues towards climate change. Tom had an article on Nature's Toolbox, and we put these articles up on our Facebook group to a vote, and there was a winner, and the winner was Tom, 11-9. Very close.
Yeah,
I think you were in the lead the whole time, but I kept sneaking. I'd get one, you'd get one. I'd get one, you'd get one. A lot of people were very passionate. Two great articles, but you did win, so you get to pick where you go. I actually went so short this week, I'm barely a page.
Oh, mine's very short too.
Yeah, we both went short on this one. Would you like to go first or defer?
I'll go first.
Okay, awesome.
And this was from it was just a fun one I found from perfectearthproject.org, and it says, "What does your landscape say about you?" Published on October 2nd of this year, and it says, "I've been thinking about what our local landscape I already screwed up. Wow. I've been thinking about what our landscapes say about us. Just the same as clothing, homes, or cars, landscapes tell the world a lot about their owners. They also tell stories of the billions of lives, visible and invisible, that are living or not in our yards, and how we're treating these plants, animals, and fungi that we were there before we took over, and they still need a home. Garden owners and gardeners manipulate properties, creating gardens that showcase to the world just how smart, successful, tasteful, plant-savvy, carefree, or eco-conscious they are, or want to look like they are. The more carefully clipped, sterilized, and controlled the property, the more resources, parentheses, time and money, end parentheses, were obviously needed to get there. Control sends a clear message of wealth and power. More control means fewer surprises, minimal changes from season to season and year to year, frozen in time, predictable, and rather lacking in life. But nature wants to otherwise. It wants to grow and fill in place with life. It will never stop trying and is powerful. Keeping a place from aging naturally requires even more control, more machines, more sprays, more mulch, more money, more impressive? The landscape industry hopes you think so. It has become a huge machine fueled by all the services a tightly controlled landscape needs to keep it looking just so. And yes, you know where I'm going with this thought. The cost to the environment is harsh. Nary a branch out of line, never a nibbled leaf, no place for non-human lives to live, and not great for humans either, considering the constant onslaught of noise and poison. There are alternatives, and they are starting to send some new messages. How to read them? Even the drive-by eye can easily tell what priorities the property owner has in mind. Take a ride around and judge for yourself. Here's some of my thoughts. And then there's some lists of what the landscape looks like and what the author then thinks about that person. So wall-to-wall carpet of lawn equals power play. Lord and master of all, nothing much but grass. So if you have trees and shrubs shaped with military precision equals control issues. Everything's bound up in a shape war. So if you have privet, boxwood, mophead, hydrangeas, and crepe myrtles equals fashion victim. You're 2 decades late to the party. I can't agree with that one more.
I'm loving this. I'm completely loving
that
this.
one is like, I was in I know we're going to talk more about social media later, but I'm in a social media group, and someone put up a picture in the backyard and said, hey, I have this spot, and it was all surrounded by pavers. It would be a cool spot for like some trees, but it wasn't going to be a great spot for many trees. All surrounded by pavers, and like, I have this spot, I want to plant a tree, I already have a red bud, what's another small tree I can plant here? And it was like 200 comments. 100 of them had to say either crepe myrtle or like the miniature Japanese maple. And I'm like, yeah, that's what everyone else has. That's why they're suggesting it. And it's just, in my opinion, old, outdated, common, what everyone else has, does nothing for the ecosystem on top of that. You had a couple people say, well, why not another red bud? Which is an okay point.
Immediately, I was thinking Amelanchier.
Amelanchier was a good
I was thinking Magnolia virginiana. You know?
There's...
or some big shrubs. Like Viburnum trilobum would have been great.
There's some folks, and I think they listen or at least follow us on some of our social medias, but there's Penny Tedesco. I think she put in Amelanchier as a suggestion, saying, hey, there's a bunch of, like, witch hazel was another one.
That's another great
There's a bunch
choice.
of, like, short native trees that might be really good, and then you're not just helping it look nice, you have other stuff, and then you had the naysayers who are like, oh, native trees are the worst. and was it Denise Kramer?
Oh, yeah.
Who comments every once in a while. She had put up some other native suggestions. But yeah, it was, if there 50% of the comments were saying like the short Japanese or dwarf Japanese maple,
Which is
or
Acer palmatum dissectum.
or a crepe myrtle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yep, everyone.
You know, the
got
thing
them.
is, with Lacustromia, people assume that they're a southern native because they're all over in the south, because that's the hardiness issues are not really like. I have them in my neighborhood. We actually have one in our backyard, and I think it's on like the verge of that cutoff where you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But it's not native to here at all.
And it's there was a bunch of them when we were on LBI for our vacation. There's a bunch of them there, and it was like folks I was walking with, like, oh, what tree is that? That's so cool. I'm like, it's crepe myrtle. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
and then like right next to the two hydrangeas and all the you walk by every house, they're all the same. Anyone who had the money to pay for a landscaper, that's what they got. So
it's
continuing on with the list. Yellow warning tags equal blind optimism. Huh? Pesticides are bad for me? Huge hedges equals insecurity. I don't want to engage with the community, but I want them to think I'm someone special. Monocultures are huge swaths of one kind of plant equals short on ideas, high impact with minimal creativity. Diverse, unclipped plantings equals setting the stage. Challenging the norm complexity is not the same as messy. Having native ground covers equals spreading the love. Finding new solutions like using large swaths of lawn alternatives. Unmowing equals conscious uncoupling, letting go of the norm and welcoming wildlife. And then having a major meadow equals eco-chic, on-trend, changing the garden aesthetic. Gardens need a new look, a new kind of care that is caring and welcoming to all life. Can you see it coming? Could it be time for a bit of self-assessment? Landscape is therapy, the best kind. And I
like it.
I wouldn't say I'm agree with 100% of it, but I think it's funny. It opens up the discussion in a fun, lighthearted way.
Yes.
We talk about this a lot on our next episode. where you're not. And I thought of a really good analogy of this later that I wish I brought up on the episode, so I'll bring it up now. But it's like when you're talking about native plants, would you rather, if you're the recipient of that talk, would you rather it feel like your friend saying, after you got a slice of pizza, saying, I can't believe you're going to eat that. Do you know how processed that is? Do you know how terrible it is? Do you know all the terrible things it does for the environment? Is it really going to stop you from eating the slice of pizza? Or are you just not going to eat it in front of that friend? Yeah. Or would you rather have a friend come up to you and say, hey, I just found this awesome new restaurant down the street that serves this, and it's like, not only is it like locally sourced food and it's really good for you and they're supporting local farmers, but it's also has this going for it too, and they're giving money back to like a local charity. Which friend are you going to listen to and be like, oh, that sounds kind of like, second conversation you're saying, that sounds kind of cool, I want to check that out, I have a friend who recommends it to me. First one's like, why is this person getting mad at me for, I just made a simple choice? And like, put it in native plant perspective. And now you're approaching people online or offline. Like, if you come at them the first way, are they really going to listen to you? Or are they going to like kind of,
they're going to blow you off.
You're a wacko. Yeah. If you're the second person, like, oh, that's actually kind of sounds neat. Like, I'd like to see more birds in my yard. I'd like to have cool flowers like that and know I'm giving back to the ecosystem too. We talk about that a lot in our next episode. But yeah, that was like I was driving around last night and in my gas guzzling. Actually, I wasn't in my car. I was in a golf cart, in my electric consuming golf cart. And no, that was just what I was thought of. It was like, yeah, it's like if you're getting scolded for something versus being encouraged to do something new, like try something new, what are you more likely to be receptive to? And then thinking about that as totally. Recipient.
Our guest had some great ideas, and I don't want to share them because I want you to listen to the episode when it comes out. But but our guest had some wonderful ideas of how you can change that narrative as well. I think all those joined together are fantastic.
But I kind of thought this did that in a way.
It doesn't
just say to anyone in particular saying, "Don't do this. You're being dumb." It's like, in this kind of cynical, sarcastic way, it's like, hey, why would you do this kind of stuff when you could do this? This is what it looks like to someone who understands the ecological ramifications of all this.
But if you're someone that has the mop head hydrangeas in the boxwood and you read this, you're not finding it very funny. To me, I find it funny because I get it. Yeah. It's more preaching to the choir a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
But still done in a very funny way that I appreciate.
Yeah.
So,
but I want other people to think that, and I'd love to see in the comments of this episode other people's thoughts on when they see this and what that says about the person. My favorite one is probably with the huge hedges and like insecurity. I don't want to engage with the community, but I want them to think I'm someone special. That's got to be my favorite one because it's also fairly true.
Well, I wonder, and I've seen a few in my neighborhood where there's no plants but a million bird feeders. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it's like Munchausen syndrome. And I want to talk more about that a little bit in our topic, which Tom and I are actually prepared for this week.
Yep.
But that's a great article. Did you say who it was by?
I don't know. It said something about. Let me find the.
Is this at the bottom? The book recommendation.
The book recommendation is someone else, I think.
Oh, okay.
But there's a book recommendation they put up as well, saying "The Book of Wilding: A Practical Guide to Rewilding Big and Small" by Isabella Tree and Charlie Burrell, and which was just a recommendation they put at the bottom of the article. I actually was looking this up before, and it's from. So I said it's from the Perfect Earth Project, and the main title says Edwina von Gaal's Radical Thinking. So I don't know if she wrote it or not, but that's a pretty recognizable name in this space as well.
Awesome. That's a very good article, Tom. That may be another winner for you. I think you're what, 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row?
I don't keep track.
You're streaking. Man. You're streaking again. All right, my article this week is a very short one, but it's something that I saw that kind of stuck out to me immediately, and I wanted to share it. So the name of my article is National Parks SDSU, which is South Dakota.
Oh, it is Edwina von Gaal.
Oh, is that?
The
Okay.
Perfect Earth Project.
All right.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Awesome. So it's National Parks SDSU Join the Native Plant Party. This is by Mike Moen, producer from the Public News Service. The U.S. is home to nearly 5,000 non-native plant species. Most are not considered harmful, but there are efforts to eliminate invasive ones from national parks, and South Dakota researchers are part of the project. The National Park Service is working with a team at South Dakota State University to help restore native grasses and wildflowers at Park Service sites in the northern Great Plains region. Federal staff will be in charge of removing invasive varieties. Laura Perkins, associate professor and lead faculty for the Native Plants Initiative at South Dakota State University, said they will focus on plant restoration with seed handling and harvesting techniques. National parks are like our public land heritage, Perkins contended. We want these to be the healthiest landscapes that they can be, and native plants are a big part of that. Perkins pointed out invasive plants can outgrow native plants and suppress them, negatively affecting surrounding wildlife. She added, what stands out about this project is they will research the effectiveness of reintroducing native plants. The results could be replicated by others who want to do restoration work for other grassland areas. Perkins stressed it's not enough for government and academic teams to prioritize these initiatives, suggesting private landowners can join the movement too. Especially in the northern Great Plains, so much of our land is owned by private people, Perkins emphasized. We don't have a whole lot of public lands. She suggested that farmers and ranchers can do their part by planting native species, or at least managing their land in a way to create a better environment for them. And homeowners can do things like including native wildflowers in yards and gardens. So it's pretty short and sweet. I'm just happy to hear this in that part of the country and that they're using it from a learning and teaching standpoint. And what that could mean from there. I mean, I don't think it's a stranger of any national park to work on natives. We've seen it locally in Jamaica Bay and other national park services. Obviously, we've had Perry Sasnet on from Glacier National Park. We know these things happen. I just love that the intention is to help to be a learning ability, especially in a part of the area, like they said, where the national parks aren't as great and it's not as much public land. I have to say locally for us, and maybe I'm spoiled, the park systems close to us have really taken a good initiative as far as promoting native plants. We're in Burlington County, New Jersey, and the Burlington County Park System has really done an incredible job. Some of these parks were newly created from old ag land, and they did a really good job creating meadows and forests or maintaining the ones that are there. Mercer County Park System, I don't know if you've been to Mercer County Park recently. Their meadows. Yeah,
it's been a while, but they were working on the meadows.
The meadows are amazing, and the signage. So as you pull in, like there's a small strip of grass that's mowed that goes right to the meadow, just to keep it like away from the road, and signage saying meadows in progress. This is what we're doing. Like you can't go by it without knowing exactly what's going on. And it was so nice to see. And we're seeing more and more of that. And it's just nice to see it getting press.
Yeah, for sure.
And stress the importance of it.
Yeah.
And we've talked about, especially in the, I guess by the time you're hearing this, you've already heard the SEER episode. And we talked about incorporating the public into what you're doing so that they know. It's amazing how many times we heard, we started restoring this part of the land and people, the public thought we were putting a new beach in and started using it like a beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, or they thought that they were destroying something and putting something else in, not realizing what was happening. So to get the word out there, to incorporate your community and to spread a good message like this, it just is heartwarming.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah. So short and sweet this week. 2 great articles. Tom's on what your lawn says about you, and mine on national parks in South Dakota State University joining the Native Plant Party. On Monday, we will put the articles up on our Facebook group where you can vote, and make sure you do because...
And of course, the choice is yours.
Stay tuned for more of the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Welcome back to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery.
All right, so you want to do listener shout-outs next?
Yeah, let's do it.
Listener, shout out.
I'm going to go first, only because you have a mouthful again.
I sure do.
I want to say thank you to the crew from North Creek Nurseries. Friends of ours came out to visit the nursery, see what was going on in our seed fields, and take a quick tour. We harvested some pawpaw and had some great talks at lunch and got to learn what everyone's favorite native plant was and why. And we appreciate you spreading that native plant message along with us and being partners with us. And we're happy to call you all friends. And it was just really nice getting to know all of you and spend time with you. So
yeah,
thank you so
I
much.
agree. And then we had a bunch of interaction on Spotify this week from Mary, Ivy Lane 3, Piper. Yeah, Piper's 27 _27. We had Bonnie Rutherford wrote to us on YouTube, and I think they were the one that said that was like their first YouTube comment.
She said she can count on one hand how many comments she's made on YouTube since YouTube became a thing.
Yeah, that was pretty
that
flattering.
was thank you.
When did YouTube become a thing? What was the first YouTube video you remember seeing?
It wasn't. I think one of my was Lazy Sunday from Saturday Night Live in Lonely Island.
Okay.
Was one of the videos I remember first going, oh, YouTube. But then my kids, between two videos, it was the one of the duck in the lemonade stand asking for grapes. Do you know that one?
Yes. Yeah. I remember from Christiane's first run around here. I remember playing that all the time.
That and my kids played that one like crazy, and Charlie the Unicorn was another one that was actually Dave Chamberlain from Burlington County Parks. I had worked with him at the time. He's like, look at what my kids are watching. Yeah. And I was like, what's this? And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But you were the one telling me about the RV guys with YouTube.
I think I was telling you there's an RV guy this is like pre-YouTube.
Oh, okay.
This might be a different thing.
Okay.
But there's the RV guy who was like pre-YouTube, and it was he was making a commercial for RVs, and then the tape got basically there was all these, he cursed a lot when he ever a fly would fly in his face. He'd screw up a line and it was just every curse word in the book was be thrown out, and it was really funny. But apparently, someone took the cutout tapes and then showed it at a party, and then people were making copies of the VHS tape and then sharing it that way. There was a Netflix documentary about that.
Is it really?
Yeah, and eventually they tracked the guy down. I'm gonna watch that thing tonight. Yeah, I wish I remember. Oh, Winnebago Man. That was all right. Winnebago Man, and the documentary is the same name, Winnebago Man.
All right.
And cool. It's the Winnebago Man just videos are hilarious on their own. So
all right, so that was a sidetrack, but you have more.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have more. Where are they? We had God, how am I supposed to pronounce that?
I was trying to decipher this one.
Chloe. Oh, it's probably Chloe U1.
Oh, it is Chloe U1.
Chloe U1.
All right, good call.
Spelled the Kardashian way with a K.
I was like K-Lou.
And then we had Stacking Functions. Stacking Functions has been listening to the show for a few months and really enjoys it, and loves learning a lot and having the right amount of laughs along the way. And then Chloe U2. That makes sense.
U1. Is it U2?
No, it's U2.
Oh, I wrote.
Yeah.
I wrote.
Yeah, on what you wrote U1, but she wrote U2.
Right. Okay.
And is a longtime listener with lifelong interest in native plants, and says we have eclectic information and interesting discussions. So,
all right. I hope they enjoyed Winnebago Man.
Yeah, Winnebago Man. It's not for children. That's for sure. Unless, I can think of some of my friends' kids that they would say, I already know all that stuff.
That's all that.
Yeah, that's all that. 7-year-olds.
I was into that when I was 4. All right. So for a topic, Tom and I wanted to just kind of approach. So next week's episode, we have Griff Griffiths on, who you may know from Redwood Rising. I think it's Griff in the Wild or Griff Wild. There's a lot of his own social media, but very enigmatic personality, has incredible information, and does it in a very entertaining and accepting way. And he just recently released, I'm trying to remember his partner's name, Michael Hawk.
Yes.
And there's one other, but a new nature podcast called Jumpstart Nature. As of the recording of this, there's 2 episodes. And Tom and I told Griff that we would listen to them, and because at the time we talked to him, we hadn't listened yet, and kind of give our feedback.
Yeah. Hey, guess what I was listening to when I had the thought about people talking to people about pizza?
Was it
before.
the Ben Franklin?
No, that wasn't even it. But I was listening to his podcast. Okay. Is what it was. Are we supposed to talk about? You want to talk about his podcast now?
Yeah, let's talk about it now.
Yeah. No,
you
love
know
it.
what? Because then people can prepare and have it listen to it by the time they listen to our conversation with Griff.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we promoted Camille Dungy before.
Mm-hmm. I really liked it. They're short, which is nice.
Yeah.
I almost wish they were like the perfect length. Maybe they could be like they're 23 minutes ish. So you make them 30. I think maybe they're like a little bit better, but they get the point across really easily shareable. Yeah. So we talk about the next week too, is like sharing things that if you aren't willing to have the conversation yourself, well, there's pre-made stuff out there that you can share with people. To ask someone to sit down for an hour and a half or 2-hour conversation about wetland restoration with us can be a bit of a big thing to chew off for someone who's new. 20 minutes once you take the music out and the credits out, of not just informational but entertaining and pretty basic in a lot of senses information that's like can get across to. I could have I could imagine a 10-year-old listening to this and getting just as much out of it as an adult. It's pretty easy to digest. I really enjoyed it and said I can send this to my in-laws, my wife, cousins, that kind of stuff, friends, and they'll be like, "Oh, I never thought of it that way." And it's going to open their eyes more so than if I had the conversation.
And it's a lot of great guests that just in the first 2 weeks, it's Doug Tallamy, Mary Phillips, people that you've heard on our podcast, giving short, great information. Like just hearing Doug Tallamy calling ornamental plants ornaments because you decorate your lawn with them was just such a great short clip that has a very good point. It's edited like so superbly. Mm-hmm. And Griff was saying he's doing his best NPR impersonation. But the information, I think the second episode with music and everything is only 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's easily digestible for someone just starting out. And it's a wonderful gateway.
Yeah.
I think.
But yeah, the first one is The Yard of the Future. And Fran kind of referenced it before, is they said, imagine you're going back and telling Benjamin Franklin about what our yards look like now. He's going to be like, what?
How are you wasting your resources? Yeah. You're doing what?
And then the second episode is called Plant Your Bird Feeder. And it's about like not just how you can utilize native plants to be your bird feeder. That's going to attract more diverse birds. Maybe, I don't want to say better birds, but like you're going to get the insect folks will kind of understand this analogy, but they'll get really like, if they see a common bumblebee, it's like, a common bumblebee, or a honeybee. I saw a honeybee. But if they see a rusty patch bumblebee, they're going to get really excited. Yeah. It's kind of the same with birds where, a blue jay or I'm trying to remember some of the birds that they referenced. I'm not the biggest bird guy. But if you were to see like a scarlet tanager, you're like way more, and you're only going to get that with certain plants because they're feeding off of certain insects or certain seeds and that kind of stuff.
Here's one thing that I heard in the podcast, without giving it all away, that I thought most people probably would know if they thought about, but they never think about it. You always hear birds fly south for the winter, and you watch cartoons as kids and they're, it's getting cold, so I'm going to go where it's warm. When the reality is most birds are insectivores and they need to go south where there's insects for them to eat because that's all they eat. So they're going to where the food is. Mm-hmm. So the birds that are here, you're feeding the seed to, are only certain birds. Only certain birds eat the seed, and they only eat certain types of seeds. Mm-hmm. So you're only getting a limited amount. And they tend to be the birds that are the most abundant. Yeah, and they just kind of set up shop because they know they can get the seed. So they're not saying that they're a bad thing, because we had that conversation with Tim Mack. Like it's a great gateway drug, but you got to make sure you clean them. You got to rake up underneath, so you don't get the rodents. there's so many things you have to do to make sure you're taking care of them.
Yeah, that was a really interesting thing. And I don't have any bird feeders. I don't necessarily want bird feeders, but my mom does a lot with bird feeders and bird seed. And it's like, well, one, what kind of seed are you getting? That was a question they raised. And then two, how often are you cleaning your bird feeders? And
that was a great point they made.
If I was I'm going to tattle on my mom and say, I don't think she cleans them maybe once a year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's supposed to be more frequent than that.
Because they're saying you clean your dog's bowl.
Yeah.
Right. You wouldn't let them keep eating out of the same dirty bowl. Why aren't you cleaning the bird feeder?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Oh yeah. So yeah, don't want to spoil those episodes for you, but they were
very digestible.
You guys that are listening to this, the people that are listening to this, you probably know a lot of this already. The bird one, I learned a lot more than the first one for sure. Yeah. But like I said, super easy to share. Where I could take this and send it to 10 people right now. I probably will. Yeah. And send it to say, hey, listen to this. And next time I could envision the wheels spinning in their head, saying, oh, I never thought of it that way. And there might be some people who write it off as BS, but that's going to happen.
You're going to get that regardless. Yeah. So great things. If you consume podcasts and you listen to other podcasts besides ours, give it a listen. You can listen to it, and it won't even take your whole lunch break.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You can listen to it. It's very quick.
Yeah, so unless you have like a real tough boss that doesn't let you wear headphones, those kind of things.
That's true.
15-minute lunches. Got to work around the clock. So yeah, when you listen to the next episode, you're going to hear us say, hey, we haven't listened yet, but we're going to listen, and we're going to talk about it on the next buzz. We actually did it now.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
ignore
a good
those parts that we say in the future.
Those are not the droids you're looking for. Take it or leave it.
I like this one a lot, Fran.
So in looking for a native plant article this week, more so than ever, sometimes I go to my Apple News because I have a subscription just through a bundle. I don't really use it, but I'll search native plant news and see what pops up on there. And there tends to be a lot more than what I would find doing a Google search. And, sometimes we both look at LinkedIn to see what our colleagues are posting and things like that. But this time more than ever, there were articles written about praising advice given by social media influencers. Both, it was mainly TikTok and Facebook. But I was reading the advice, and I wasn't thrilled with the advice. And I'm like, are you researching this, or are you just watching a TikTok video and writing an article about it? One of the articles was the best treatment for weeds in your garden is a mixture of bleach and water. And the other one was the cure-all for weeds is just a mulch.
Yeah.
If you don't want weeds, all you have to do is mulch.
Yeah.
And I felt that both of them were irresponsible. Mm-hmm. And it might have been the reporting.
Yeah.
Not so. I didn't watch the videos. Maybe the videos were.
Yeah. And it's, I think some of this stretches a lot further than plants do. Again, this is going to be a little bit, I don't say, hopefully it's old news by the time this episode airs. Yeah. But what's going on with Israel and the Gaza Strip right now, you have all kinds of crazy stuff that's just being reported, and it's single source, not verified stories that are coming out there that a lot of, I want to say alternative media, but like independent media types are like, if this isn't true and you have major news outlets reporting it that it is true and really augmenting people's thoughts and feelings about what's going on, and at a really critical moment where perceptions of what both units should do at this point, that has massive, worldwide ramifications. That's just irresponsible.
And how much of that is propaganda?
Yeah,
we've learned that in the past. That
I know there was then this is real. There was videos coming out of things that were happening in Gaza that people were saying, "Oh, the Israelis just did this," and terrible bombings that are happening. But it was like, oh, this tech actually happened in 2021, or this actually it happened in May of this year. I wish it had never happened, but to say that it's happening now is not only untrue, it's irresponsible. I think that also, on a much less serious scale, is happening across everything, but even in native plants. And even beyond the whole, like the actual influencers doing it, you see it way more in the comments too. I was on a post the other day, and someone had a cardinal flower that they said they planted late, and it was flowering now. And they're like, is this going to make it over the winter? And you had some good advice saying, hey, cardinal flower can be finicky. You might not get that one comes up next year, but if it drops seed, you might have other ones. They tend to move a little bit, which is stuff I can anecdotally say is true. But then you had people saying, oh, it's only going to live if you cover it with 6 inches of mulch. I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And,
it doesn't have 6 inches of mulch in nature.
Oh, yeah.
So why does it need 6 inches
it's like,
of
I
mulch?
guess their
in your yard?
concept was, you need to insulate it with 6 inches of mulch, but they didn't say you need to remove that in the spring.
Yeah.
Maybe they are implying you do. Yeah. But I don't, and even then, I'm not sure if that really holds up to how I've seen cardinal flower behave. Now, I'm not an expert on cardinal flower, and there was like 3 or 4 different instances in over like 40 or 50 comments where I'm like, I don't know about that. That doesn't really sound accurate. I don't think there was a definitive answer to the person's question, and I think it was valid to give anecdotal experience to their question, but it was you had like way different examples of how, if you want this to come back, this is what you need to do, and I don't know if anyone could really definitively say that's what you need to do.
No, and especially with that plant, being in our industry, I have a lot of professionals that are saying, hey, I've learned from experience, like you would think it takes these conditions in nature, but you can't plant it in a core log.
Yeah.
Because even though technically it should survive, it won't. You have to plant it a couple feet behind to where it's not quite as saturated. Yeah. I plant one every year. Every year it blooms, and at the end of the bloom, it breaks off at the base and falls down. And
we
never
have
comes
that
back.
in our seed fields. I planted in my garden expecting that to happen. I had them coming back for years. They've gone away now since. I kind of mulched over it. So, there you go. I mulched over it, and they didn't come back.
But I think I think they're only 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
3 to 5 years.
Perennial.
So you have to let it recede.
But I think it's just I'm looking at this, and I could just be how I think about things. I try not to say things definitively because I don't really know. But you have a lot of people who are like very certain, and then I'm looking at it from not an expert angle, but someone in the horticultural industry saying, yeah, that doesn't sound right to me. Yeah. And so I think you just get a lot of that on social media. It's so easy to put a video up there and sound confident and have a following and not be accurate.
Yeah.
And it's tempting to do that sometimes too.
I listen, whenever you and I post videos, I know we both fact checked.
Yeah.
And even then I'm always concerned that, I said something I probably shouldn't have said, and someone's going to call me out. Like, I don't know for sure. I'm just assuming that I put some information out there that's not correct, and someone's going to call me out on it.
Yeah.
So to blatantly put something out there that you didn't research and just say it that confidently is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's speed. Speed is kind of the name of the game in news reporting, in fashion, in everything, social media for sure. Speed's the name of the game, and it's, hey, I've noticed it with like the holidays. If we like Memorial Day, it's really easy. All businesses tend to capitalize on Memorial Day. You put a picture of the flag, say we want to remember all the people who've fallen and allowed us to live the life that we live. Yeah. If you post it at 6:00 in the morning, you get hundreds of likes, so many people sharing it, and all this stuff. You put it at like 1 in the afternoon, you're barely going to get anything.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's just kind of, if you aren't one of the first, you might as well not post it sometimes. Yeah. It happens with sports reporting, all kinds of news. If you're not the first one, it doesn't matter. You have to credit the first one. Yeah. And it's kind of sucks to see that happen in other facets of life too.
It does.
But
it was, I kind of felt like it was shining a spotlight on information.
Yeah.
That, although may be true, may not be the best.
And what really stinks about this too is this is something I experienced when my wife was pregnant, because some of the guidance, if you went online, it's like there's all these things you're not supposed to eat, lunch meats, smoked meats, that kind of stuff. I love to use my smoker and smoke meats, and I just want to look this up and find why this, and you can find article after article after article after article after article after article saying why a pregnant woman should not eat smoked meat. They all reference the same study or of the other articles. But they all reference one study that was done in like Poland in the 80s. And like when you really dig into the study, it's like, oh yeah, it's when they were eating like 4 servings of smoked kielbasa a day in the 3rd trimester. There was a less than 1% chance that the baby's head was like a millimeter smaller. And it's like, so all this guidance that was being taken as gospel was based off of something that really, it was a marginal instance, and what was one study that we find all the time. So the study's done, and then once it's peer reviewed, they're like, well, they didn't really do this the right way. So
and the thing is, like, and I'm guilty of this. I'm gullible. Yeah. How many times have I come into the office and said, hey, listen to this, and then like there'll be like a few minutes pause, and then Tom will go, I don't think that's true. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. And it's just, you take it at face value because it's who can get it out the fastest, but you're consuming so much of it too that you just see and say, oh, okay, that's great. I grabbed that. What's next? Yep. And then you just take it like, I'm guilty
very
of
few
that.
People go back, and the major news outlets will do it. They'll go back and correct it. And the corrections usually go kind of like unheralded and under the radar. Because it's you need the big story first. It's like, oh, so-and-so did this crazy thing. And it turns out that maybe the thing wasn't as crazy as they thought it was, or maybe it wasn't quite exactly how it was reported. And they come back and do a correction later, but that doesn't get the clicks. No one's clicking on that. It's the good or bad has already been done. It's even worse with like people who are doing it as a blog because they don't have the time to go back and correct this stuff. It's I think it's
or it's
like what you
clickbait.
said, Fran, where you're like really concerned about when you say something and someone coming back and say, "Oh, you're wrong." I think sometimes it's good to get that feedback.
Oh, definitely,
because it educates you on. I had one on rice hulls. I put out a video on how we use rice hulls, and someone wrote and said, "Oh, this is a really terrible thing because there's so many pesticides used on rice," which is true.
Yeah,
and I actually didn't realize how much was used on rice until they put that comment up, and I looked it up, but I spent the most of my evening diving in. Is this actually okay or is it not? And when you really dig into it, it's like, oh yeah, it's really it's just the husk that we're using, and it's parboiled, so that gets rid of a lot of the chemical. It's actually OMRI listed, so I'm like, okay, yeah, I think we're in the clear. So I wrote that back and said, hey, I looked some more into it, and this is what I think about it now.
And then other people started putting research to confirm what you were saying. Yeah. It's everyone jumped on your side, just saying, "Oh, what is this person talking about?" There's this, blah, blah, blah.
But I think that's a sign of that you really care a lot of times, and a lot of the folks we tend to have on here are folks that really care. They're not just putting stuff out; they're putting stuff out because they really, really know it well,
content,
or they've really done their research on it. I think of Kyle Leibarger, Andrew the Arborist, Griff Griffiths, who's coming on next. A lot of the authors we've had on, like, they're just not putting out bogus things. They're really putting a lot of time and effort and work into these things. And when they find out they're wrong, they're okay admitting they're wrong. Yeah. And a lot of times they'll go back and say, hey, you know what? I did this and turns out I was wrong. This is what's actually happening. So I've seen more than one of those kind of posts from those kind of people.
No, and that's good. That's good because you have a following that depends on you for good information. If you gave misinformation by circumstance, it's good that you're correcting it so that they know, hey, we all make mistakes. This is the right thing. I just want to make sure you have the correct information in your hands.
Exactly.
But so much of this is like, how much of this is clickbait? Like last night I saw an article, being based close to Philadelphia. It was 76ers finally trade James Harden in this blockbuster trade proposal. Yeah. And I'm like, proposal. Yeah. Like, click. So it's just you making up a trade and trying to get people to view it.
There's a whole network, it's probably on most social medias, but especially on Twitter, of like fake. Adam Schefter, for those of you who don't know, is like a big sports reporter for the National Football League who breaks a lot of stories. So there's big trades, there's free agent signings. Like, he's like the insider who reports a lot of this stuff first. There's a handful of different folks, but he's one of them. There's got to be like between 25 and 100 fake accounts that use the same profile picture, and like instead of an A in his symbol, it's like an @ sign, or instead of like an E, it's a 3, and it's like just little tweaks in the name to throw people off so they can throw out incorrect stuff and trick a lot of people because that's what they find fun. I think it's fairly innocent in that spectrum, but then you also get a lot of those in the world politics stage that I know we have congressmen and senators that retweet it or share that information that is like someone putting incorrect information in there just to trick people and hope that a congressman, senator, president does it, and then it's like, oh, look at this person and how they either supply their fan base with incorrect information that they don't know is untrue. Because why would I don't want to name the person in particular who did this. Why would that senator in particular have tweeted this if it wasn't true? Why would they have done that or X'd it, whatever you call it now? Or they're doing it because they think it's funny that, oh, look, this person fell for my little prank and hey guys, so that's what happened in the last couple. That's the whole election stealing thing. That's what that is a lot of Eastern European hackers that are throwing stuff up there
for confusion
to galvanize different fan bases, galvanize the left and the right against each other, and throw out wild things. When you really dig into it, it's like, oh, I can't believe people actually believe some of this stuff. But
when
on both sides, and that's not a right thing or a left thing. It's happening both ways because they're trying to pit people against each other, and it's working.
But when emotions are boiling, it doesn't take much to spark that fire.
Yeah, that's I was listening to a podcast last night, kind of about this topic, and saying, especially when you come across something that supports what you already think, dig in that one even further. Yeah, because that's it's like it really lines up with what you already think. It's like, oh, there's a good chance maybe I should make sure this is actually legit. So it's the stuff that goes against what you say is like, yeah, you want to do that too, but sometimes when it supports, you got to dig in there just as far as you would what goes against what you think.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. So, awesome. Great take it or leave it. That one just came to me yesterday.
No, I think that's a good one. I think I sound a little bit more eloquent than the last one when I went off on another quasi-political tirade.
I think you're overthinking that one. I didn't feel that way.
Well, that's the same thing. It's like I came out of it being like, oh, I hope I didn't say something that makes me sound really dumb and is people going to like really question who I am as a human being and all that.
Well, it's funny. Like Griff emailed me right before we came in saying, please tell me I didn't ramble. Like, I feel like I was rambling. Like, was I? No. And I was like, no, you were. And he goes, I just had like a matcha and I was feeling pretty good. And he goes, so it was either that or he goes, I really enjoyed the company and maybe just the setting. Yeah. I was really talkative. Yeah. I'm like, no, not at all. You didn't ramble.
I've loved so many of our podcasts. And this for everyone who's going to listen to our next podcast with Griff. That was that's why these break, Fran. Because I put my arm on them sometimes and they wiggle. That was one of like the easiest interviews I think we've had. It was. He made it where we barely even got through most of our questions.
We didn't, and we was an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was. We've said this before, but we kind of have like a script of questions that we like discussion points. So we want it to be a conversation. We kind of talk through stuff. When the conversation kind of like dwindles a little bit, we'll throw another one out there to kind of re-spark things, and we'll go off base a little bit, but we want to bring it back and keep to that map in a way. The map went out the door with Griff, and it was great. It was really a lot of fun to let it go out the door.
To not have a map. I didn't even look at it till the end. The episode was over, and I'm like, we asked maybe 4 of those questions. 5.
Yeah, 4 of what, 12 or something?
Yeah, like so which was awesome. Yeah. But the ones we didn't ask got answered. Yeah, like throughout the conversation,
and it was fun, funny, in depth, and I think it really came full circle too.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Awesome.
Well, that's going to wrap us up for today. So thank you for joining us, and stay with us a little bit longer because I have one more wheel to spin. My trigger finger's been getting itchy on this wheel.
Got one more to give away.
So we have one more book to give away. So we hope you enjoyed listening to The Buzz. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Native Plants, Healthy Planet, presented by Pinelands Nursery.
Thank you to RJ Comer for our Buzz theme music. Wouldn't be the same without it. Make sure you stream or buy RJ's music wherever you consume music or listen to his Americana playlists on Pandora. Big thank you to Dave Bennett for our Native Plant Anthem. Still waiting for that to get posted on social media of some sort. Not social media, like Spotify or iTunes. Want our listeners to play that loud and proud. Yeah. You can follow us on Twitter at Pineland Nursery, Facebook at Pinelands Nursery NJ, Instagram at Pinelands Nursery, and YouTube at Pinelands Nursery. Also Instagram at Native Plants_Healthy Planet. Don't forget about the question and comment line. It's been quiet the last few episodes. Call us at 215-346-6189. I will repeat that, 215-346-6189. Ask a question or leave a comment. We'll do our best to play it on a future episode of The Buzz. And big hello to all of our new members of the Native Plants Healthy Planet Facebook group. Thank you for joining and being a part of our community.
Yeah, so you can buy Native Plants Healthy Planet merch at our website, www.nativeplantshealthyplanet.com. Sasquatch merch coming soon. I have the picture in my mind. We're going to be on a plane soon, so maybe I'll try and work on it then.
All right.
Who am I kidding? I'm too wide for a plane seat. Like just even if I was skinny, my shoulders are too wide. So I feel really bad. I'm bumping into people. So I kind of sit with my arms crossed and just kind of pull my elbows together. So I'm as small as possible because I'm really self-conscious about I know the people walking by are already like, I really don't want to sit there. And so I try and make it as comfortable as possible so they aren't complaining to their spouses or friends about how they had to sit next to this big sweaty man on the plane. It's just overflowing into their seats. So I barely even read on planes just because I keep my arms. I hold my phone right here. I'm covering my mouth. Yeah. I'm hold my phone right in front of my face to read off of it. But those we're gonna hopefully get up soon. And we don't keep any of the money from those t-shirt sales. Basically all the profits, the costs go to the manufacturer. The profits go into a little holding tank called PayPal. And then when we get that sum around $500, we say, hey, you know what? Let's donate to an organization that could really use it. That's doing something in the ecological native plant space, and then we go from there. So
awesome.
You can also listen to our podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, really wherever you consume your podcasts. You can even ask Alexa to play the Native Plants Healthy podcast. Heck, I just did it by saying her name. So we have. Oh, when you're there, leave a 5-star review, hit subscribe. Those really go a long way. You can't win a book if you.
There will be other contests.
Put your review in, but at some point there'll be another contest, and that's how we tend to do them. So do a little write up with that. I'll give you a shout out, and future contests you'll be enrolled more than likely.
You'll be good. You'll be good. Awesome.
All right. Who's ready to spin the wheel?
wait, hold on. I'm not prepared. Hold on. Why can't I do this now? All right, say it again.
Okay, who's ready to spin the wheel? All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, spin. Oh, I don't have the sound up.
All right, there you go. Oh, another winner.
This is another one where it's between two folks that I know listen.
All right.
And I don't know this person. But the winner of the second book goes to Betsy26. And that's Betsy as BETZEE 26. You have won
congratulations.
yourself a copy of Camille Dudgy's book, Soil, the Story of a Black Mother's Garden.
Beautifully signed.
Yeah.
They're it's definitely a centerpiece for your bookcase.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure you read it. What a wonderful book. Listen, I haven't said it for a few episodes. Top 3 book for me. Really a game changer. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed a lot of comments from people in our Facebook group just saying, wow, I cried 3 times through that book.
Yeah. And you want to know what I really feel just looking. I know this isn't a takeaway from Betsy at all. But we were only 3 spots away from where our Canadian listeners fell.
Really?
We could have been shipping a book to Canada.
That would have been cool. Maybe the next one.
Yeah,
but we're thankful for everyone who entered by dropping us a comment or leaving a review. Remember, you have until episode 182 to respond to us at info@nativeplantshealthyplanet.com and identify yourself so that we can get you a book. We would love to send that out to you. And then if we don't hear from you by episode 182, we're spinning the wheel again. So
I saved the wheel so I don't have to go through all the labor of putting all those names in. 130 some names in there. That we have way more reviews than that. That's just the
ones where leave the comments,
stuff to us. So, all right,
awesome.
Cool. Yeah, well, thank you, everyone. With that, I'm Tom.
And I am Fran. Thank you again, everyone. Coming up next week, we have our interview with Griff Griffith from Redwood Rising, so make sure you tune in for that. We'll see you again next time, and until then, keep it native.
In meadows, woods, wetlands, and dales goes a bounty of beauty that never fails. Our native plants, so diverse and so rare, treasures of our land beyond compare. From the ferns below, soaring oaks above, each plant has a place each family's love. Monarch caterpillars launch milk, wheat so tall, bees buzz about, sipping nectar fall. Oh, native plants, how you grace this land. In your diversity, we will take a stand. To protect and preserve our generations to come, and beauty and potency second to none. To protect and preserve the earth, to restore the native plant movement you just can't ignore.
Goldenrod, asters, and flowers galore. Monarch is so stunning, can't help but adore. Their colors, their fragrance, a feast for the eyes. Their value to wildlife, no need to disguise.
Native plants, how you grace this land. In your diversity, we will take a stand.
Thank you for listening to the Native Plants Healthy Planet podcast, presented by Pinelands Nursery. Remember to like, share, follow, and comment.